glad to have you join us once again on Agribiotech, a program on biotechnology and its relevance to Nigeria's food security needs. I am Lara Afolayan. Food is of such great importance to development that countries the world over place so much emphasis on food security. This explains why huge budgetary rations are allocated to addressing food shortages. This notwithstanding, challenges such as climate change, rising population, pests, diseases, and environmental degradation remain a cog in the wheel of progress. It is therefore not surprising that food security has now become a subject of global concern, with governments and non-governmental organizations striving to find solutions to an imminent global food security problem. In Africa, for example, where the population is expected to double by the year 2050, feeding the people in countries like Nigeria is a huge burden. Scientists are now encouraging the adoption of improved technologies like biotechnology to fix the situation. They argue that such innovations have worked in countries with similar potentials and environmental endowments like Nigeria. In our focus segment of today, we take a look at the experience of countries where biotechnology has been used to drive agricultural growth. Crop modification through genetic engineering boosts the natural attributes. Countries in some parts of the world have already achieved positive impacts from this technology on their agricultural sector. Most GM crops around the globe are grown in the United States, Argentina, Brazil, Canada, and India. In the United States, for example, there are several GM crops and seeds commercially available. India, on its part, has become a net exporter of agricultural products from the use of biotechnology. The country's adoption of genetic modification launched an era of gene revolution that resulted in its becoming a major producer of the BT cotton.
It had been adopted in many countries around the world. Is providing lots of benefits to farmers and the environment, and the current crops have been found safe both for human consumption and for animal consumption. Current crops that are grown around the United States that have been, around the world, the current crops that are being grown by farmers in countries around the world, both in Africa and Europe, the United States, South America, that there are no health risks from those crops.
Brazil ranks high in tropical agriculture. This is attributed to investments in agricultural biotechnology. The country has commercialized several genetically engineered crops. Scientists feel African economies like Nigeria have a lot to learn from this South American economy where biotechnology is concerned. They advise Nigeria to employ the Brazilian genetic engineering strategy and internalize the Zero Hunger Plan to attaining food security and sufficiency.
Obviously, any technology that would make the lives of farmers better, that would help improve upon food security, that could help improve upon the nutritional value of the crops that we produce, deserves to be hailed. And everyone would wish that as much as possible, all farmers, regardless of their background, regardless of the part of the world where they grow their crops, should have access to those. And obviously it goes beyond the farmers. It's all about the ordinary people and the likely benefit that they would gain from the consumption of some of these crops. So a lot of progress has been made in America. In Europe, it's a little lacking, just as it is in most parts of Africa.
It is believed that the fast adaptation, development and commercialization of the GM technology will work positively for African economies. This Ghanaian is positive this move could boost investments in research and development, rural infrastructure and entrepreneurship in Nigeria as well as his country, Ghana.
On the part of farmers in particular, a lot of education has been ongoing by some of the various agricultural groups to get them to understand the technology, and so they appear to be making some inroads when it comes to that. The National Farmers and Fishermen Association, which is the largest farmers association with membership in the millions, they are backing the technology right from their leadership level to a lot of the ordinary members of the association. On the part of government, there is some level of political will, I should say. The environment minister was in parliament recently. He openly backed the idea of introducing GMOs, and so it's a mixed sort of terrain in terms of how things look like, but I'm sure we would know what the clear path looks like eventually when the crops are out there on the market.
The international community feels potential for economic growth arising from cultivation of genetically engineered crops are massive, with increased access to food, good health and productivity. They say it will attract foreign earnings from the modern biotechnology sector, resulting in wealth creation.
I think they need to look at what are the constraints to agriculture of their farmers and to see whether there is a solution for some of those constraints using agricultural biotechnology. And if there is, it's a tool in the toolbox that can be used to help solve those constraints. Farming is a difficult profession, and if there are ways that we can make that easier, increase the yields, reduce the environmental footprint of agriculture, we should use whatever technology we have to do that. They should explore applications of this technology that will help the constraints of farmers here, and if those are safe, they should utilize those.
Well, the work that's ongoing with the BT cowpea is quite a substantial one. The destruction when it comes to pests of cowpea, particularly in the northern parts of the country, other areas, is quite huge. The estimate put it at something beyond 30% plus in terms of the total yield that's gotten, yield of cowpea that's produced. And cowpea is a major diet in Ghana. Lots of folks consume it. And so if a technology is being introduced that can help deal with that, then obviously farmers will be the beneficiaries, the ordinary members of the public will be the beneficiaries, because look, no one likes to chew their cowpea with all the holes in it, and this may well be a turning point when it comes to seeing that. So it holds quite a substantial amount of potential. I think it could help improve upon the livelihoods of the ordinary farmers, and it could well advance the agricultural sector generally.
Science-based organizations from the international community advise that Nigeria and other African nations adopt modern-day technologies like biotechnology, using their indigenous human and financial resources to effectively address their food production challenges. One of such organizations is the American-based Cornell Alliance for Science, which seeks to promote scientific innovation as a means of enhancing food security, improving environmental sustainability, and raising the quality of life globally. Sarah Evanja is the director, and she speaks to Agribiotech on biotechnology. So why should Nigeria adapt biotechnology to improve agriculture?
On a personal level, I support the technology, but we don't parachute into countries and promote technology. We promote choice, we promote evidence, we feel passionate about ensuring social justice for the poor. We stand with the science and the evidence, and we are driven by a sense of urgency in light of the enormous and pressing environmental and social challenges that we face today. We are promoting science communication, and we work together with OFAB to equip people to have innovative science communication skills so that Nigerians can communicate the science and the data in a way that is appealing to the masses, so people can actually understand the science and make their own decisions.
Okay, now what is your take on this technology being the solution to Nigeria's food security problems?
It takes all kinds of different disciplines and tools to combat any given challenge. But as a plant scientist, I really do feel hopeful that the tools of biotechnology can help address many of the agricultural challenges that we face today, whether that be increasing yields in maize in the face of drought and record-breaking heat, or whether that be decreased pesticide use through technology like BT cowpea. There's a number of technologies being developed right here in Nigeria that could really address some of these environmental concerns as well as some of our food security concerns.
Okay, now what can you say about the GM technology and health? There's a lot of concern about that here in Nigeria.
Oh, the science is clear. The science is very clear. Every major scientific society in the world has declared that there is no reason for concern when it comes to environmental health or human health. These technologies that we have today that have been developed with genetic engineering are safe.
Can you share a little bit of the experience in the United States where the GM foods exist?
So globally, there are 12 crops that have been approved to date, and the majority of the GM crops grown in the US are certainly soybean, which has been developed, as well as maize, or corn as we call it. Those really comprise the majority of the GM crops planted in the US. We also have genetically engineered virus-resistant papaya that's being grown by Hawaiian papaya farmers. In fact, that technology saved the papaya industry in Hawaii. Without that technology, we would no longer have a papaya industry.
Okay, now there's a lot of resistance, or a level of resistance, in countries like Nigeria, to this technology. I don't know what your take will be on this.
I think if you ask most people what they're truly concerned about, if you stopped a mom like me in the grocery store, in the supermarket, and you said, what are your concerns? It's unlikely that most people are really concerned about biotechnology. I think most people are concerned about how they're going to feed their family, whether they're going to get the kids to school on time. These are the concerns that most people have. It's a very small and vocal minority of people who are raising concerns about biotechnology. But when you have an opportunity to explain the technology and what it can do and what purpose it serves, I think most people are very accepting of the technology. Who wouldn't want to embrace a technology that can reduce insecticide use by 80%, which is what we're hearing from farmers in Bangladesh who have adopted genetically engineered eggplant, for example? Who wants to stand in the way of a technology that can improve the livelihoods of farmers in Bangladesh, who can offer them additional income to help them make new choices like send their kids to school, and at the same time can reduce insecticide use by 80%? That's a beautiful technology. And I think when people hear those success stories, they're no longer opposed to the technology. It's safe, the science is clear, it can help improve incomes and livelihoods, and it's good for the environment.
It can improve livelihoods, like you've said, but people are worried about the side effects on their health.
But there are no side effects. There's no science to support those claims, you see. The scientific organizations evaluate these crops very carefully, and time again, there's no significant difference between a genetically engineered crop and its counterpart when it comes to human health. There is zero evidence for that. We have experienced 0 cases of harm to human health from genetically engineered crops. So this is misinformation.
Okay, so how do you think the promoters of this technology in Nigeria can be more convincing to the public?
I think it's a matter of sharing the real drivers behind this technology. People aren't using genetic engineering for the sake of using genetic engineering. We're trying to solve real problems. So if you talk to a cassava breeder, if you talk to a cowpea breeder about the challenges that they're facing and how they're using these tools of science to overcome them. So what is it really that a cowpea breeder is trying to achieve? Well, they're trying to achieve a more robust, climate-resilient cowpea variety that's going to, require less inputs and produce more cowpea. That's really what a breeder is trying to do. And so I think when people start to understand the challenges that farmers are facing and the role that this technology can play in offering solutions, then we begin to open our minds to this technology and see how it really can be great for Nigeria, great for Nigerian farmers and great for Nigerian consumers, and sometimes those are the same people.
Okay, how can Nigeria take advantage of this technology?
Nigerian scientists are at the forefront. They are developing technologies today at the research stations. They're developing improved cowpea. They're developing improved cassava varieties. It's happening right here in Nigeria, and so I think that Nigerians need to embrace the leadership that Nigeria is taking in this space. Nigeria needs to support its scientists so they can continue to innovate using these tools as well as other plant breeding tools.
Okay, now what far-reaching implications do you think this technology could have for food security in Nigeria?
So genetic engineering is one tool in the toolbox. A plant breeder has a number of different tools to choose from, and she or he chooses the right tool for the job. Okay, and so this is one of those tools that can help Nigerian scientists overcome the challenges that Nigerian farmers are facing, whether that be from insect pests or constraints brought about by climate change like heat and drought.
Okay, now what is your final word to Nigeria on this technology?
My last word is justice. Access to these innovations is a matter of social justice. And to deny farmers or people the right to choose these technologies, I believe, is immoral. So my last word for you is justice, Laura.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura,
for joining us on the program.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
That was Professor Sarah Evanja speaking to Agribiotech on biotechnology's ability to positively turn around output in the Nigerian agricultural sector. And by the way, Sarah is a professor of plant breeding at the Cornell University in the United States. And as I said earlier, she is also the director of the Cornell Alliance for Science. And still talking science, a lot has been happening in that area around the world. One of such is the March for Science. This annual ritual by scientists began in the United States in 2017 as a series of marches and rallies held in Washington, D.C. It is now evolving and is observed in over 600 cities simultaneously in parts of the globe. Nigeria wasn't left out of the activity this year as the country's scientists marched on the streets of the capital city, Abuja, to, among other things, call for the country's use of biotechnology for farming. This is one of the newest calls for Nigeria to take on this technology for farming. And of course, yours sincerely was there. Every year, cities the world over march publicly in support of science and its relevance to humans. This is a non-partisan movement that seeks to create awareness not just for the common good of science, but the promotion of evidence-based policies that align with public interest. Nigerian scientists are not left out of this global movement.
If you look at other countries like Brazil, like Argentina, like India, we were in the same class in those days, around the 70s and the 60s. But today, Brazil has gone far. Why? Because they invest huge amounts of money into research and development. Without research and development, we can't move our nation to greater heights. We cannot have a nation that is free of hunger and poverty. We need to put a lot of money. We have it. It's just to place our priorities right.
The farmers are part of this gathering as well. They are once again drawing government's attention to why biotechnology is important to their farming business.
The government should fund science and technology, and the biotechnology should be encouraged in Nigeria. The reason is that we want to benefit. The benefit is enormous.
This public solidarity for science also forms part of an awareness creation strategy by scientists. It provides an opportunity to speak up on existing genetically modified crop varieties that are drought, pest and disease resistant. The consensus here is that this is what Nigeria needs at this time to change the face of agriculture.
The question of even, debating them from my own perspective shouldn't even arise at this point. When you have a population of 200 million people, right, and you already have places like the Northeast where there's this threat of famine and drought, some things are not for discussion. But still, what the science says about GM crops is that they are safe. Now, people need to understand that there's a lot of misconception about them, but from purely scientific point of view, they are totally and absolutely safe.
The march continues, with the scientists expectant this movement will pave a way for improved investments in science and technology for food production. They are hopeful science will now be seen by Nigeria as an essential part of revitalizing agriculture. Nigerian scientists there marching for science. And you know what? That march was not limited to scientists alone, as operators in some other industries, including entertainment, participated. I caught up with one of them who is a veteran in the Nollywood industry and also doubles as an ambassador of science. You are a Nollywood actor and this is science. Now, what is the relationship between the two of us?
The fact is that they write their stories, I write my stories. So there's a synergy between us. The average man who is a physicist is like a script writer. In the process of carrying out his experiment, he documents it. Now the script writer, in the process of writing a story, he documents it. Now somebody comes in called a producer who takes the script from him to give life to him, to it. Now everything the man has written, the physicist has written, has documented. The only difference between the two of us is that nobody came in to give life to it. So the same process they go through is the same process I go through. Now again, if we find out what science is, which is life, then the onus is on us to have a synergy between them.
Okay, so what is your message to the public out there, to those who are a little bit skeptical about this technology and all that? What will be your message?
I want them to lend a voice. I want them to mount pressure on the red chamber and the green chamber in this great nation to tell them support the science world, to make them understand that without a healthy society, the economy will suffer, because you don't need sick people to be out there.
I was asking you a question. I said, have you ever taken genetically modified food before?
Of course. And I asked you again, if you travel abroad, what do you eat? It's the same thing.
Okay, so what role are we looking to see Nollywood play in all this? Are we maybe in the nearest future expecting a movie? Or
yes, we're going to do movies on the process of their achievements. We will do it. There are actors who can play scientists. Do you know that most people believe that the average scientist is a white man, not a black man? A white man with a scattered head, pointed, and he's looking like a lunatic.
We don't believe in ourselves.
So until we shed that light on us to tell them, no, great scientists are normal people who have wives and has husbands, who have children in the family, and they contribute to the society.
I look forward to that movie on biotechnology. What may likely be the title of the movie?
Well, if I tell you, somebody will steal the title.
Okay, so let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yes, definitely.
And thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you,
on the program.
Thank you.
A very interesting one there with Paul Obazele, Nollywood actor and science ambassador. And while we wait to see that movie on biotechnology and agriculture, as Paul said, Paul, I'm waiting for that movie. It's here we draw the curtains for today. Send in your mails on inquiries about biotechnology. The email address remains agribiotech1@yahoo.com. You could send us a tweet at agribiotech13 or visit our Facebook page, Agribiotech on TVC, to drop your comments. I am Lara Afolayo. Enjoy the rest of your day as I leave you with some proven facts about genetic modification.